Hello and welcome to the January Jumpstart 2022 edition. My name is Brian Gertler and I'm a career counselor here at SLU. And today we are going to go over the job and internship search strategies. So basically from start to finish, we're going to be doing a lot of just brainstorming. We're going to look at some resources on how to even begin your search if it seems overwhelming or daunting. And then we're going to make our way through to how do you narrow down your search, how do you keep track of things, and then eventually we're going to look at some resources that we have even here at SLU. So let's jump right in. So first and foremost, you're going to be asking yourself a lot of questions before you even get started. The first thing you're going to want to ask is, what are you searching for? Is it a job? Is it a part-time job? Is it an internship? Is it maybe something that's for credit, not for credit? And ultimately, the first question a lot of people get to when you're a SLU student is, what can I even do with the degree that I'm getting? So one of the cool things we have at SLU is a tool called "What Can I Do with This Major?" It is found on the slu.edu website when you go to our career services page, and then you scroll down to section. We're already there, but you click on the online resources and podcasts. Then you would scroll down. There's our podcast. And then you click on "What can I do with this major?" This is a kind of a cool website that will sort of break down a list of keywords that you would use in your search. So let's just jump right in. So we have, first we just want to view all majors, and this will have every major that you will see at SLU, I believe. So, and let's look at psychology. So we go to psychology. So here's psychology major. And this sort of really parses out like every aspect of, what can you do with your major. So it'll give like areas. So for example, if you're interested in, in more administrative work in psychology, this would be some of the things you could look into: grant writing, programming, management. If you're interested in more hands-on things, direct care, you have case management, mental health services, etc. And then another cool thing is it will show a giant list of types of employers. So federal government, state government, these are pretty big employers in the psychology realm. You also have, some of the private sector where you have maybe some religious affiliated organizations, private organizations. And then here is a section where you could learn more about how to get positions. So there's different strategies on how to get positions. So be willing to relocate for increased job opportunities, acquire knowledge of government and community resources available. So these are just sort of a really cool website, and it like it showed above, it breaks down the different areas and specific strategies, specific employers. So it really does a good job of just sort of parsing it out all the way through. All right. So, and another important part is location. So where would you like to be? I think it's easy for us in St. Louis to just start there because we're familiar with, being from the university. But it like you saw on the previous page, you sort of open up the doors to different things like increased salary, maybe a market for a position is a little bit better in a different area. There's different hubs of areas for maybe like the Silicon Valley for like tech. So things like that. There's different areas. So are you willing to just stick in one city, one area? Are you wanting to explore beyond? So that's a question you would ask yourself. If it's an internship, are you hoping to do a paid or unpaid internship? Is it for credit? And what do you want to do with this position? Is it used as an experience for a job? Is it used for like, is it for credit and that's all that you're using it for? So you're going to ask yourself a lot of these questions. And then finally, when would you like to start this opportunity? I know for seniors, we get that question a lot, like, when should I start job searching? And if you're a senior, this is a perfect time to start job searching, right in January. Um, and a lot of internships will start even in this past semester. They've started throwing out, positions like, hey, we'd like to get this position filled by, June or something like that. Um, so yeah, you have to ask yourself when these things are happening, and really individual majors, individual career paths have different timelines, and you should be familiar. If you're not familiar, feel free to come to us and ask what is a normal timeline for somebody in your major in your career field. Next up, where are all the jobs? Let me move that. So you're asking this question hoping to find some resources and tools to uh, even start your job search. I think one of the obvious ones to start with, and to toot our own horn, is going to be Handshake. One of the cool things about Handshake, if you haven't explored it yet, um, definitely go and do that. But one of the cool things about Handshake is that if you complete a profile, which you'll get familiar with what that is if you haven't already. But if you complete your profile, you can increase your chances of being contacted by 80%. So really, putting in your documents, putting a picture in, giving a little summary of yourself, filling out a full, job experience and what your interests are. If you fill out your full profile, you have an 80% chance of being contacted. Increase in 80% chance. So Handshake's a great place to start, and we'll sort of come back to that later, how to even look for those positions. Next up, we have like organizational sites. So an example used here is the Great Nonprofits. That's a website where if you're looking for a nonprofit position, you would go to this website and they would have a bunch of different postings. I actually got my first position at a university through a job or through a posting website called higheredjobs.com. There's a lot of different universities that use that. There's also, I believe those are the main two that I can think of, but there are like plenty of different organizational sites, and then specific organization sites like SSM Healthcare has their own, pretty significant job posting board, and they update that daily. So if you're interested in working for a specific field or a specific company, just look up their websites, and they more than likely will have a pretty up-to-date posting board. And then of course, job search sites like Indeed, LinkedIn would have them as well, as I say below there. So when we're looking at Indeed, which we'll come to a little later, we'll be able to use some of those keywords that we saw in what can I do with this major. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Government jobs, usajobs.com. So that's a great place to look for those. LinkedIn and professional organizations. Really, LinkedIn is also a huge tool for the job search. So I would recommend fully completing a profile on LinkedIn as well for your job search. And then of course, networking. So the people I think most students, like traditional undergraduate students, have their best bet at getting really good positions through people like friends of parents, or your friends' parents, your parents' friends, uh, through like internship sites, knowing your professors, your coaches really well, and just asking them who's hiring, and then also attending career fairs. You get to meet and talk with people who are in your field. And then of course, don't underestimate the power of Google. And an example of that, let's just go to Google right now and let's search. Since let's do case management, case manager jobs. Let's do case manager job St. Louis. If you look, Google has a really cool job posting platform, and it's similar to Indeed, which we'll get to in a second. It's similar to Indeed, where you can really fill out a pretty complete search, and it will give you, if you want to look at the date posted. I like to do the past week just to have the most up-to-date positions. It'll give you, remote positions, then positions specific in St. Louis, and they have a pretty good website for that. And we'll go over here in a second about how to do a pretty thorough search on a search website. So narrowing your search. So we're gonna practice this here in a second, but first you want to start by using broad terms. Like if you were, again, interested in doing something in your degree, use psychology. Search psychology in the search bar. Again, utilizing the what can I do with this major. What kinds of titles are you seeing, or what subjects come up in your search? So if you were to search psychology, you would probably see a lot of like case manager or certified counselor or different positions like that. You'd probably see a lot of those. And then you would have to go through and see what the requirements are on each of those positions. But you'll find some that you're like, oh, I can see myself doing that. And then if you see repeated job titles or maybe specific subjects, try searching for those. And then you could also, if you're on Indeed, you can set up favorites. You can set up they'll want you to set up an account. So when you get on Indeed, they'll say, hey, can you put in your email or create an account with us so we can send you positions that are similar to the ones that you're looking for, which is kind of cool. So why don't we try that right now? So let's go to Indeed. So this is the Indeed website. It already has, the location based on my, tracker on my laptop. Let's search digital media. So you can see a bunch of positions pop up, and they're various, different positions in the field of digital media. You have a digital marketing manager, social media specialist, a content manager, freelance writer, kind of all over the place. But you can sort of see, I see social media manager. I see that a couple times. Social media specialist. So let's look up social media manager, and let's start, narrowing down. Like I said, I like to do the past. Oh, there you go. It says, be the first to see new social media manager jobs in St. Louis. It'll ask you to put in your email address because they'll send it to you. So that's kind of cool. So let's do the past week. Oh, it's kind of slow right now. Let's do the past 7 days. And then you have all these positions, social media manager in St. Louis, that were posted in the past week. And here's that Anheuser-Busch position that we saw. And then maybe you can say your experience level is entry level, since this is maybe your first position you're doing after school. Taking a second to load here. All right, well that didn't work. But you get what I'm talking about. You can break it down. Sorry, my internet kind of crashed out there, but it like I said, it breaks it down, and you go through and really expand your search any way you'd please. So great websites. Google and Indeed do that really well, and LinkedIn does it really well. So another huge recommendation is to create an Excel file or Google Sheet to track your applications. And one of the reasons you'll do this is you'll probably find yourself applying to a good amount of positions, especially starting out. And it can be hard to keep track of, what you've applied for, um, maybe what company has worked well, what company, has sort of shut you down a lot. You can also keep track of things like what was in the job description, or because when you start getting your interviews, you're going to want to keep track of all those things, because you want to be the most prepared for your interviews as well. So let's just we have an example created here of what that could look like. So you just create like application tracking, and then you could have your company, position, contact, link to posting, deadline, applied, heard back, additional notes. What I like to do is I like to actually create an additional document where it's like a Word document or a Google Doc, where I have all these, you have your Excel sheet here, and then you have the link to the posting where you can copy and paste what's on the link on the job description, because sometimes companies will take down the job description and the posting before they start interviewing, and then when you go back to look to prepare for the interview, you don't have that information. So I like to copy and paste all that information onto a document, just to keep track of those things additionally to this. So, but everybody has their own system. This is just something that, if you want to get like a full uh, prep document, I would first and foremost definitely do an Excel sheet like this to keep track of all those things. Okay. Next up, spring career fairs. So attending career fairs allows you to present yourself to potential employers. You get to learn about the companies that are present, and then of course, like I mentioned earlier, networking with individuals in your field. So SLU actually has several career fairs happening even this spring. Uh, for example, we have the one in Chaffetz for the Chaffetz School of Business. Uh, it's actually in the Chaffetz School of Business, not the stadium. But that's happening pretty soon here on the 8th, and that's in person. And then we have our All Majors Fair in the Bush Student Center. And then we have a couple of virtual fairs after that. Again, another All Majors Fair and Engineering and Technology Career Fair. I will actually pause here, and I'll go to the Handshake website. Give me a second. Let me find where we're at. So we're on the Career Services website, and we're going to go to, how would I get there from here? I'll just go to my SLU and do it the appropriate way. So you go to Tools, Handshake. So this is what the Handshake website looks like. I might have to switch to a student view here. Yeah, I'm going to switch to student view. So this is what you would see if you were to get on the Handshake website. And it's kind of cool because it tells you about make your profile stand out. And then if you scroll down, it shows you some different events that are happening here. And then it shows you some job posting, just sort of a cool little hub to get started. But first and foremost, you have this section called attend an event, or the events tab up here. You can click that as well. So attend an event, and you would click on career fairs. And boom, there are the career fairs we have for this spring. So it gives you all the event information. It tells you, I believe there's some registration information if you'd like to register. And then it shows you the different organizations that are attending. So these are the ones that are attending so far. I'm sure we'll get more here in the next few weeks. But that's the state. So let's get back to the slideshow. So yeah, definitely recommend going to a career fair at SLU, just to get some face time in with those companies, and they some of them actually do some potentially do some in person, like informal interviews with you if you go there. So highly recommend it. And here's some additional links and notes for your job search. For example, we have the in a pandemic, we have a lot of remote positions and a lot of positions that maybe aren't in areas that you're familiar with. So here's a link to how to do a long distance job search. We'll put that in the notes of this video. Reciprocity with other Jesuit institutions. This is something that is kind of unique to SLU and other Jesuit schools. Let me see if I can pull it up. So one of the cool things about being at SLU that a lot of other universities don't have is that other institutions, Jesuit institutions, will help you, since you're part of the network, will help you get opportunities, different scholarships, things like that, because you're affiliated with a Jesuit institution. So if you go to our career services website and click on the job and internship tab, you can scroll down to reciprocity assistance. If you're looking for a position in, say, Chicago or Boston, we would have schools in those areas, and here's how you would apply for those. Ways to get your foot in the door through them, to get those services through them. Let's go back to the presentation. And note that some fields, like it says here, they don't recruit until closer to May, till graduation. So it's not unheard of to not have a job until right after you graduate, or not have a job offer until after you graduate. And that is very much specific to some fields, but that's also specific to people's situations. So don't be anxious or don't be nervous if you're getting down to the wire and you're not hearing back. Sometimes fields and employers don't post until later because they more have a expedited process where it's like they post it. It's more of a traditional process where they post it, and then in a couple weeks they'll interview people, and then a couple weeks after that you'll have an offer. So it's more of a traditional process, expedited. And here's a cool article, how to get interviews for jobs you want. I believe I have that article pulled up. If you've ever been to this website, this is a great website for anybody who is a first-time job searcher, or maybe somebody who's wanting to change careers. This gives you a lot of different resources on how to apply in like the modern age. So again, we'll post these links to the video as well. More additional resources. We have our career services website, obviously. We have our drop-in hours for resume reviews. Those actually occur, I believe, Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 5, but I'm not entirely sure. So that's a tentative thing. So TBD if that's a legitimate time for those resume drop-ins. You can also schedule an appointment with us through EAB Navigate, which is how you would go about scheduling an academic advising appointment, and then an appointment with us, and other appointments on campus with the different resources we provide. And then going back here, we actually have some pretty cool career fair prep sessions that occur the Mondays and Tuesdays leading up to the in-person fair, which more information to come on that, but be on the lookout for those on Handshake. And then, of course, we're here to help you. So we have a couple of things. Yeah, there's the drop-in hours. We're available to do virtual and in-person appointments, depending on what you're comfortable with, what you're able to do. We cover a lot of things. We do a lot of mock interviews. We review resumes and cover letters. We help with, of course, the job and internship search. We help you even just discover, what you might be interested in. So if you're undecided, we help with that as well. We have a lot of different tools to help with that. And then if you are a current student, you can schedule an appointment through that EAB Navigate, like I mentioned earlier. And then here's our drop-in hours, Monday through Friday, 3:30 to 4:30 in our office at Reciprocity in the lower lobby. And those are typically like pretty expedited. You're talking with a career ambassador for about 10 to 15 minutes. They're just quickly looking over your resume, giving you some quick notes. If you want a more in-depth conversation, you can always set up an appointment with us. You can even set up an appointment while you're there with our front desk. So, and then of course, here is our different social medias. Got Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then our podcast on our website, which is pretty cool. So thank you so much. I hope you learned something that was valuable. And again, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or want to talk with us about your job search.